Hope is the enemy of depression. False hopes, bad hopes, low hopes kind of add to depression because they pile up on you, and next thing you know, you're on this downward spiral into depression. Hey, Dr. Dan here, and I guide students to be smart about higher education and live a life that matters. And in this Wisdom for the Week video, we're going to do the second part of a three-part series. And last video that we did was the Hope Doctor prescription, 2 highs for every low, part 1. And that was 2 high hopes, a total of 16 for every low hope that was, there's a number 8 of those. So we covered the 8 low hopes last week, and this week's video we're going to label Positive Expectations Hope Doctor Prescription Part 2. As you can see, it's a little nippy out here, but there's nothing like natural sunlight for video, so I love being outside. If I got any chance to be outside, I will go outside. So this week we're going to cover the choosing to go from those low hopes that spiral us down, which really aren't hopes. They're kind of false and misleading. All of those are long-term things that we only realize after a certain amount of time that these things are fruitless. They're hopeless. They're dragging us down. That these low hopes the labels that we gave them were false hopes, empty hopes, dried up, deferred, lost, vain, uprooted, wrong hopes. All of those are really not hopes. They are just leading us down a path of futility and frustration. And we want to get from the point where we recognize what those are, and then we transition and go to the high hopes. We're labeling that good category, those high hopes that are true. They're pointing us to truth and things that we can hope for. And I divided those two. I thought it was going to be a 2-part series, but we're dividing up those positive or high hopes, the 16 of those, into 2 categories, and they divided up pretty nicely after looking at them into short-term and long-term. So we're going to cover the short-term hopes now, which are kind of transitions to go from the low hopes, which are all long-term spiral downs, to getting some kind of hope and dragging us up out of those low hopes. So we want to, there's a website out there, I put it on the screen, that you can go to and look at some videos of scholars and the studies that they're doing and the things that are researched on hope, of which there's really not a whole lot of concrete stuff on that. But hope is this kind of nebulous concept, and we're trying to bring some clarity to it. So the names that I'm giving these hopes, they're from articles and papers, and there are a lot of labels for hopes in the Bible. And so I got a mix of those and put them together, and this is what I came up with. So if there's labels that fit you better, that suit you better, that you can work through, just as long as you recognize there's false hopes, there's negative hopes, there's downward spiral hopes that you need to transition from to positive hopes. I don't care what labels you give to them, but these are good starts, good way to give us some kind of clarity and substance to the hope that we have out there. Because hope is this human feeling, human virtue that we have. Animals don't have it. If we believe in a higher power, God, Jesus, Buddha, whoever you believe in, I believe in God and Jesus, and so my hope is there. Our gods, they don't need hope because they're supposedly all-knowing, they are all present. So this is a human characteristic that's not really clearly defined. We want to lock into an emotional component of hope that is positive, that kind of locks us and gets us moving in the right direction. The way we transition, one of the way we transitions is to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There was the 5-second rule book, Mel Robbins, that she wrote, and that's a really helpful way to go from these low hopes to the high hopes. One of the ways that if we recognize, yeah, we're in a low hope, we go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, we transition from that and we start moving towards the high hopes. Another good way for us to focus on would be a book by an author named Jane McGonigal, and she wrote a book called Super Better, The Power of Living, what do I have on there? Gamefully. I had to read that label. How do you live gamefully? And she gives you all these ways to, she had this terrible bout with depression. One of the 3 biggies that a lot of people are dealing with is depression, anxiety, and an overabundance of stress. Now, not all stress is bad. So Jane's sister Kelly wrote another book called The Upside of Stress. Bad stress is bad. It can bring us down. But depression, hope is the enemy of depression. False hopes, bad hopes, low hopes kind of add to depression because they pile up on you, and next thing you know, you're on this downward spiral into depression. So what are these short-term high hopes that we can try to transition to and move toward? The first one would be a confident hope. Tunch Ilkin and Craig Wolfley are announcers for the Pittsburgh Steelers football team games in Pittsburgh. They're the local announcers. And they used to play in the NFL. And one of the things that they would do before they went out on the field for games is they would say, we're 10 foot tall and bulletproof. That's this confident hope of getting ourselves psyched up, and not this false hope, but a real rise and calling to our potential. What can we do? And that's that confident hope we want to jump on board with. Another one would be a proud hope. And that's not kissing my arms like some of these people you see in the football games, but that would be a proud hope that I'm with this group and I attribute credit to my teammates, and we have this proud hope together that we can go and conquer the next mountain and we can get the next victory. A happy hope would be something where I envision myself on the podium where I've won the Olympic gold medal. That would be gymnasts and these athletes that envision, I'm going to get that gold medal. And that's a happy hope. And so that's something they want to look toward. Good hope. That's something where there's just this intrinsic value, this good hope that we have in our family, in our friends, and it continues and it goes on. Now, it's one of the easiest ones to neglect because we can kind of take it for granted at times. So you got to be careful with that good hope. Just make sure you're maintaining and having this attitude of gratitude. I think that's a big plus for good hope. Fixed hope would be, I need this short-term rush. I need this short-term focus to say, I can accomplish something. That would be a good thing to lock onto from a spiraling downward hope, where I just need something to grasp onto to say, I need this small victory, this little victory that I can fix my hope on and say, and I can grab this and gain some ground and get out of this downward fall that I'm in. Another one would be a door hope. I'm opening up to any possibilities to open up a door of hope, to give me some kind of something to cling on to, a door of hope. A substance abuse family member might be in this predicament where they just feel it's hopeless. They've tried everything they could to help their family member, their loved one, out of abuse, and they just need a door of hope, and that's usually in the form of, they don't see it at the time, but that's usually in the form of going to groups and other families that have the same problem, and they gather together and they can find this door of hope and lead them out of that negativity. Hope prison would be these people that just refuse to give up. It would be the people that would say, I got cancer, or I lost my job, and it was the best thing that could have happened to me. And it was in their case. They can honestly look at that and say, man, it was a smack in the face that helped me to get my priorities in line. And that's a good hope prison. And group hope would be, I gather together with people like-minded, that substance abuse case, where I go in with this group of people that I can relate to and say, they understand what I'm going through. Nobody else really understands that. And there's a bunch of people, you'd be surprised how many people are in bad situations. They're just not grouping together. When they get together as a group, there is hope. So the summary would be, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? If I'm in this spiral down, I have lost hope. My hope has dried up. I have uprooted hope. I have a deferred hope. It's just these negative, these false hopes. I need something to pull me out of there. The short-term high hopes are a good way to get that transition moving in the upward spiral direction, hopefully getting us to the next level of the high hopes that would be something that are more long-term, more substantive, and have more momentum to them. So we're going to cover that in the next video and help you when we all get into a spiral. So when we get into that negative spiral, the quickest we can recognize it is the best thing to do. Recognize it and then start grasping for the short-term hopes to climb into a long-term hope and get us out of that negative spiral. So the next time we'll be looking at the long-term high hopes. So if this was helpful to you, you think it might be helpful to somebody else that you know is spiraling. They're having challenges with depression, with excessive stress, negative stress, if they are anxious about a lot of things and they just need some hope. Pass this on to them and give me your comments. Let me know what you think about this. So there are other forms of hope that you have, that you cling to, that got you out of that downward spiral. Likes, shares, all those kind of things are just good to pass this around, and when we all get together, it's a great way to overcome the negative things that come into our lives. So this is Dr. Dan. Know where you're going with your life. Become the person you were destined to be and make a difference.